Want to share some things that have happened with us at work. It's funny, I appreciate a song like this, especially tonight, because especially on a Wednesday, feels like your brain is just shoveling along with work, and you got all that going on. You got to drive home, you got to rush for food, and then let's worship. Let's study the Bible. And so, being able to hear a song like that and bring us back to, if I just had my mind in the game, how much more useful I'd be to God. And what's funny is that it goes along with the kinds of things that have been frustrating us at work. Our company, one of the things that we do is we train linemen, from guys who just want to be a lineman to becoming a journeyman lineman. We take them through a 4-year apprenticeship program. The other thing that we have a program to do is to talk with them about safety training. How do you do that job and be perfectly safe? Because you can do that job and be perfectly safe. You can mess with that kind of voltage and have no fear or risk that you're going to die from it. Yes, there's risks involved in what it is, but you can do it in such a way that it's safe. And I know, Ryan at the steel mill, again, that's a dangerous job. There are very big risks that are there, but there's a way to do it and still be safe. Unfortunately, we've had several electrical contacts this year. And when I say electrical contacts, I'm not talking about, I'm working in the house and 110 volt hits me and gives me the jolt that, boy, I sure enjoy. We're talking about 7,200 volts going through the human body, trying to find a place to get back to the ground. That's what an electrical contact is. One of the guys who does safety training for us, we make fun of him all the time because he makes fun of himself. One arm, one leg, literally. Why? Because he made electrical contact and lost an arm and lost a leg because it just blew out his body trying to find an exit. And he is a great, passionate trainer for electrical safety and what it means to do that job in a safe way. He's also a trip. But there are layers there to protect these guys and do that job safely. And when there's an electrical contact, what that means is it wasn't just that one thing. It means you blew through every little layer there meant to protect you from doing your job. And I'd like to talk about one. This guy was not wearing his gloves. Okay, they wear rubber gloves to protect them from the line. He wasn't wearing his gloves. But it's worse than that. If he wasn't wearing his gloves this day that he got electrocuted, what might you safely assume about the other days? This ain't his first rodeo. This isn't the first time that he's done that work without wearing his gloves. Now, if you've been on the other side of that, you know how annoying it is to wear this PPE. Now, you just can't work the same and feel the same. But he didn't wear his gloves. There were others around him while he was working on that line without his gloves. Where were they? Why weren't they calling him on that? Why weren't they saying, hey, dude, get your gloves on? You know how we do this here. He was trusting in his skill that he knows how to do this job. He's done this a million times before. I can do this. I'm not going to get hurt. I know how to do this job. He was trusting in himself. And I have to think why. Why wouldn't you use it? Was it just the nuisance of having the glove on? Was it that you get some benefit and thrill of knowing I'm that good, that I can do this without the gloves? Or maybe I'm going to stick it to the man who's telling me I have to wear this glove, right? Like, what are the motivations there and that little thrill that you get? And what we see are these patterns of unsafe practices happening throughout the state right now, really ever since COVID hit, and their minds are somewhere else, focused on other things, and their mind is not in the game. And what makes matters worse is there are others around them. So, again, very specific analogy, but let me draw that to us spiritually. This is how Satan gets us. That's 72,000 or 7,200 volts of electricity. Imagine that being the temptation that comes at you, that's there to zap your soul, to blow it out of you. I know the analogy breaks down there, but you get where I'm going. And you feel like you can just toy around with sin. That you can just mess around with it and get your toe next to the line, and I'm going to do it this time and it's not going to hurt me because, look, man, I'm good. I'm not going to get sucked into whatever it is. And it almost reminds me of more being a teenager than anything else, that I feel like I can I'm not going to sin. I'm not going to just jump into sin, but I'm going to just see just how close I can get. I'm good. I was talking to one of our safety trainers on the way home, and, religious guy, enjoy talking to him about things. So it reminds me of Joseph. Reminds me of Joseph. When I read the passage of flee immorality, flee fornication, that's what he did. He literally ran away. And you might look at that and say, what a loser, man. All she was trying to do was, hit on him, and he just runs away. But he fled the situation. So how are you doing with your gloves? Are you taking those opportunities that God said he's going to give us a chance? He's going to give us that opportunity to escape temptation. And if we think we're going to stand in front of temptation and just bear it, that's not what he promised. He promised, I'll give you a way to escape it. He didn't say, I'm going to make you Superman and that you can just put your shield on, your armor on, and everything's going to be great. No, he said, I'm going to give you a way to get out of it, to escape it. There'll be some that we stand against as well. But again, this man was trusting in himself, he was trusting in his skills, and he was trusting in his ability to play around with something that was going to kill him. Next piece of it is the other guys who were on site. Where are y'all for me? Where are we for each other? Again, I go back to my teenage years. You knew who was Christian and who wasn't. You knew who was playing church, and you knew who was actually committing their soul to God. That doesn't go away when you're not a teenager anymore. That's still here. We know those of us, right, that are doing a great job and at it every time, and those who just, where have they been, man? And I'm not talking COVID. I'm talking they're not in the work. They're not doing the job that we're here to do. They're playing church, showing up in a seat. Where are we? Are we helping with that? Are we saying, hey, that's not how we do that here. That's not our culture here. Because that's what I hoped happened on that job site. Our culture is we work safe. Here, as Christians, I need you to hold me accountable. That I'm not just lip serving this thing, but I'm actually doing it. That I'm living it. And so it's a call for us not only to live as Christians, but to support others in their walk as Christians. Let me go to that last part. And why not? I mean, what's the benefit? What are you going to gain by towing the line, by playing around with sin? A few minutes of satisfaction, a few minutes of pleasure that we do get out of sin? For what? Risking your soul. 7,200 volts, flowing through that body. When we look at the judgment that stands awaiting us, that's where electricity breaks down, right? If we got shocked every time we sinned, what would we do? We'd invent some really good PPE. We would protect ourselves from those shocks, and we'd keep doing it. I know us. That's not how it works. God gave us free choice because the judgment works a whole lot more like SDI and a steel mill, where we have impurities in the thing that's there, and so we heat them up to the point that we're going to burn out the impurities. How pure are you? By myself, I'm nothing. I would burn up in a flame of fire in minimal seconds flat. But because of Christ, because he has purified me, because he has justified me, I can endure that fire at judgment, if you will. And if you don't have Christ, you are impure and you will be purified. When the day of judgment happens, one way or another, they will burn up the impurities. And think about it in that way. So if my whole life is full of impurities and I don't have Christ, that's it. That will be my judgment. I will be in hell. But if I have Christ, and that's the only hope that I've got, that can take care of that in a justified way, right? It doesn't make me this perfect person. I still am me. But it makes me pure before him. He sees me as pure. He sees me as just. And that's my call to all of us tonight, whether you have obeyed the gospel or not. If you haven't, please, by all means, I hope you can't rest well tonight. I hope you can't lay a head on a pillow and actually feel comfort tonight so that you know that God cares about you. You know what's at risk? None of us want you in hell. And I think about that when I think about those that I've known for years who still haven't obeyed. And for us here, we have a job to do. If our nose is to the work, let's do it right. Let's do it safety. Let's go all in. Let's not toy around and play church, right? Let's go do the work together. And we'll hold each other accountable. And we won't worry about, doing this thing in a way that Satan's going to get us. Why? Because even when I mess up, you're there. And you're there to call me out on it. And that's what God wants us to be. So this is your invitation tonight to obey that gospel for the first time, or to get your life cleaned up so that you can be in heaven all together, that we can go. So if you are able at this time, come forward as we stand and as we sing.